All right. Okay, perfect. We have Sister Fatima here as well. Welcome. So, Bismillah wa alhamdulillah wa salawat wa salam ala Rasulullah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa min wala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear beloved brothers and sisters. We're so honored and excited to connect with you all. Again, last week we did not have any session, but we had a question that we wanted you guys to reflect upon in our WhatsApp group. So hopefully you guys had a great discussion with regards to that. Today we will start by reading the chapter of truthfulness, which was the aim of our reading until today. I hope you guys have had the opportunity to read the chapter. It's a very good chapter. And what I like with the book of Imam Dawud Walid is that it's very easy to read, easy to grasp. And the chapters are very short, but also very thorough. And within a couple of pages, you get a lot of excellent information that we can utilize when it comes to embodying Futuwwah in our character and in our akhlaq. So essentially, it is a very good book to recommend everybody to read if they want to understand the foundational principles of what entails in Futuwwah, inshallah. And one of our ambitions with this study circle, dear brothers and sisters, besides understanding the foundations of Futuwwah, is to, from the book and from the reading and from our conversations and discussions and text reflections, arrive to different methodologies. So we have a social media team within the Futuwwah Academy of Sacred Manhood and Sacred Womanhood that is currently working on creating infographics and educational materials that we want to disseminate in our social media platforms to bring about more awareness when it comes to the concepts within Futuwwah. If you guys are interested in being part of this dissemination initiative, feel free to write in the Zoom chat or reach out to us through the study circle WhatsApp group, inshallah. And so our plan is to derive knowledge from the readings and create different initiatives. We want to take some of the knowledge and develop curriculums and how we can work with Futuwwah with young boys and young girls, for instance. We want to do social media campaigns where we want to inform more about what is Futuwwah, how do we practice Futuwwah, how do we apply Futuwwah, and disseminate it in different social media platforms so that we can reach out to a wider audience and normalize the whole concept of Futuwwah. So there is a lot of things that we are planning to do based upon our study circles. But in order for us to work, we need to have the same foundational knowledge of what is Futuwwah, and this book is a great book to start with in our readings. And as I mentioned to you guys before, dear brothers and sisters, after this book, we will continue reading other books in Futuwwah as well. All right, so let's start, inshallah. Let me just share my screen. All right. Here. So today we're going to read the chapter about truthfulness, all right? Truthfulness is the clothing of certitude. So as you guys know, the technique that we use in this halaqah is that we read together. So now I want to ask any of you to start reading with me. So who would like to start? Do we have any volunteer, dear brothers and sisters, who would like to read? All right, Sister Mahlaqa, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Yeah, go ahead, sister.
I can.
Go ahead, Sister Mahlaqa.
Okay, thank you. Truthfulness is an essential quality of the chivalrous path, and it is the foundation from which all noble traits of character extend from. Truthfulness is related to the primary trait that the Arabs referred to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in the era of ignorance before the revelation of the Quran. He was known as the truthful al-Sadiq and the trustworthy al-Amin. Sheikh al-Jazuli mentioned that he was known by his contemporaries as such because his truthfulness was seen to be lofty or even exaggerated compared to what was common among them. From a linguistic perspective, truthfulness, sidq, is informing others of an event exactly as it occurred, with its meaning standing as the opposite of falsehood. Allah said in Surah Al Imran, verse 61, And whoever disputes with you in this matter after what has come to you of knowledge, then say, come, let us call our sons and your sons, and our women and your women, and ourselves and yourselves. Then let us earnestly invoke the curse of Allah upon the liars. May Allah
Jazakallah khairan, sister Mahlaqa, for your excellent reading.
Yeah,
MashaAllah.
brother.
So you can also read underneath with regards to truthfulness here, if you want.
Yeah. Truthfulness was a quality embodied by all prophets and messengers. The impeccable truthfulness of prophets and messengers gave initial credibility to these men to convey divine glad tidings and warnings and to legislate sacred law to their nations. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was unanimously known among the Arabs Arabs in the Hijaz during his lifetime as being truthful and trustworthy, which made it incumbent upon them to believe in the message that he conveyed and exposed the hypocrisy of those who did not sincerely follow him.
Jazakallah khairan, sister Mahlaqa. So I would like us to reflect a little bit about this page with regards to truthfulness and sidq. So sidq is, for example, informing others of an event exactly as it occurred, right? When it's meaning standing on the opposite of falsehood. So would you guys like to reflect upon this notion, for instance? Standing opposite against falsehood, speaking the truth in a sense that you inform others exactly what has been done or what has been going on. Any reflections with regards to this? Yes, Sister Zahira, go ahead. Go ahead, sister. You raise your hand.
Sorry, I was just trying to unmute. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think it's really important to, I think what's being said here is that the truth is, sometimes I feel that perhaps maybe there are situations where people may add things or leave out certain information or whatever the case may be, but it's very important to state the truth as it is, as to what has happened, because there's always reasons for why things happen. And if certain informations are not mentioned, then that could lead to other issues, perhaps. So I'm just saying that in general, the truth should be told as it is, even if it is going to hurt someone, perhaps, or something. I mean, that's what I think for now.
MashaAllah, sister. Thank you so much, Sister Zahira. Yes, I agree. I think truth is very important. Obviously, in the notion of Futuwwah is essential to have like an honorable character. It is about bringing all the details, not to refrain from any particular details, but of course, which we will also go through later in the chapter, it's about timing sometimes, and we will reflect upon it a little bit later. Yes, Sister Mahlaqa, you raise your hands. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to reflect something got into my mind after reading this and when we were discussing that I feel like I think we need to be very mindful of our own actions and our own according to this, that we have to convey the situation as it is. It means that we have to also see whenever any situation occurs, and if we are talking about it later on and informing other people, we have to be very mindful about how our perception and our feelings are regarding that matter. And if due to any reason we are trying to change the event according to our own wishes or for our own benefit in even a slight way, and if we are changing the narration of someone just to make it more accommodated to our own needs, so I think that will be it's not good. So we should be very mindful of our own selves. We cannot control others, but it's for our own character building that we have to watch what we are and how we are conveying and portraying things, and if we are doing that sincerely, truthfully, or we are changing it to our own needs. And that's what I hope you understand what I'm trying to
MashaAllah,
share.
MashaAllah. We do understand. Thank you so much, Sister Mahlaqa. I agree. Thank you so much, Sister Mahlaqa. I agree. Yes, Samsung SM. I don't know what's your name. If you could change your name, by the way, so we can see your name, I would really appreciate it. But go ahead, Samsung.
Sorry, it's my name's Iman. Sorry, I'm not really sure
Oh, Sister
why
Man.
it's
Now I
appearing
know.
like
Now I know, Sister
I,
Man. Sound like a Sister Man. How you doing?
I'm,
Also,
I'm doing well. Alhamdulillah. I've got a new phone, so I need to fix that.
no
I'll
problem.
check how to do it later.
No
Um,
problem.
I'm just a bit sort of confused about the concept of truthfulness, to be honest with you, because I think that there are times in which when you sort of express the truth in its totality, what ends up happening is that you end up creating more problems than you necessarily need to face.
Mm,
So I think, I don't know, like I think that the word that comes to mind when I'm thinking about the concept of truthfulness is also wisdom. And, you know, there are times in which certain things just shouldn't be said, or they don't need to be said, or saying them can actually really graze the person that's hearing them, or the person or the people involved may not necessarily be ready to actually hear certain concepts. And that can, like, I can imagine, you know, occur in many different sort of settings. So, for example, once upon a time, I found myself in, you know, trying to run a tutorial on gender related matters in a psychopathology class. And, you know, I can imagine that if I expressed exactly what I thought about the absolute nonsense nature of what I was being asked to teach, then it would have created more trouble than necessary. So anyway,
mm,
that's just one example, but I can also sort of see other examples, even in a person's personal life, where if you tell the truth, it just sometimes just inhibits the flow and the smooth running nature of things. So,
mm,
like, there's got to be, you know, a way in which, you know, you can articulate what you need to say in a manner that doesn't cause more problems than you necessarily have to encounter, like you're thinking about family dynamics or whatever it might actually be. So that's my thought on it. And I remember speaking to someone who was talking about, they were examining like the linguistic nature of hikmah, and you know how, you know, when you express something or talk about something, you're placing it in the appropriate sort of place with comportment and with adab, like the way that they were explaining the whole concept. And one of the conclusions that they came to was that, you know, uh, you know, if you express your truth, it can be quite bitter, and it needs to be sweetened with wisdom. So
mm.
I think that's the main point, like with the concept of wisdom in coloring how we talk about the truth. I don't
Mashallah.
know.
Mashallah. Mashallah. Barakallahu fiki, sister. Appreciate your inputs and remarks. I agree. And actually, later in this chapter, we will see some notions from some of the scholars of the past referring to what you're saying, essentially that, yes, speaking the truth is important, but it's also about timing and the way that we convey it. And as you say, to color it with hikmah, it's a beautiful way of stating it. So definitely. Essentially, I think with all of our readings here, we're learning the concepts, but then the application, we need to be mindful because sometimes it's not about the concept, it's about the context, right? You can have a good thing to say, but if you say it in a wrong context, or even if you say it with a wrong concept, maybe your concept of communicating might be too harsh or too, I don't know, too direct or too frank or whatever we want to say, then it might not enter the person's heart. So it's important to also understand the way that we communicate for sure. Nevertheless, I think the reading we're doing now is to understand mainly the theories, and then how we apply it is definitely something that we need to reflect upon. If we're going to reach out to, let's say, brothers that are not walking in the path of Futuwwah and we're being too harsh, maybe they will never come into the path, right? Or sisters for that matter. So I definitely agree with your remarks, Sister Iman. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, Sister Amina, please go ahead.
Assalamu
Alaikum, sister. It seems like it's something wrong with your voice.
Sorry, myself and my husband both logged in separately to the class so that we both
Oh,
get a
I
chance
see.
to speak.
Mashallah,
So
mashallah.
I've just turned him down. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm
No
sure that
problem
was.
at all, sister. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I wanted to mention, I really enjoyed this reading that we had because, I mean, I work in wellness, emotional health with women, and, you know, even in my previous role in public service, everybody's first account of a situation happening exactly as it did can differ in terms of belief, right? You can have three people in the same room, see exactly the same thing, and say something slightly different about it. So I kind of wondered, in those types of scenarios, who's falling into sidq and who's not? You know, I know it's about having husnul dhan. Where do we draw the line with that? You know, in terms of being able to be kind and firm with ourselves and with each other so there's Allah's truth, our truth, you know, like where does that fit here is what I was wondering about this whole reading today.
You mean Allah's truth and then our truth? Could you just expand a little bit exactly, please?
So what I mean is there's the truth, a situation as it exactly happens, as if it happened in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or you know, Imam Ali is mentioned later in the reading, or then there's obviously the lenses that one of the other sisters mentioned before. We have our perceptual based lenses that we perceive a situation unfolding in front of us, right? And so how do we know whether we're in sidq in that moment or not?
SubhanAllah. That's a very interesting question, and in a sense philosophical as well. What is the nature of truth? What is the ontology of truth? I think that what we're learning in this chapter is also the intentions, right? So if we continue reading, some of the answers to your question might come in the reading, actually. So with your permission, Sister Amina, let's continue reading. We will come back to your question. It's a very important question. I really appreciate you addressing it. So maybe through the reading, we might get some answers, because part of truthfulness is intentions as well. So it could be connected. And the ultimate truth, the truth with the capital T, is the truth that is from Allah, right? We trying to understand that truth, and we try to convey that truth, but then the way we convey, we need to be mindful of that, you know, and how much and in which way. We need to be mindful, of course, always grounding ourselves in Quran and Sunnah as our benchmark. Appreciate you mentioning this question, sister. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khairan. By the way, I love that couples are coming here as husbands and wives. Welcome to your husband as well. This is Futuwwah, when sacred men and sacred women are gathering. MashaAllah. May Allah preserve both of you, inshallah. So essentially, let's continue reading. Anybody who would like to read now, please raise your digital hands. All right, sister. Oh, my beloved sister Hadid. How are you doing? Let's make dua for Sister Hadid and to all of our brothers and sisters in Lebanon. Sister Hadid is one of our dear colleagues from Lebanon. I've been thinking about you, Sister Hadid. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, doing good.
Are you doing good? How's everything in Beirut and in Lebanon right now?
It's heavy, subhanAllah. So yeah, keep us in your du'as.
Yeah. So let's make dua.
Focus, subhanAllah.
SubhanAllah, yeah. Let's make dua, dear brothers and sisters, to all of our beloved brothers and sisters in Lebanon and in Palestine and in Sudan and in Yemen and in Syria and all over the world, inshallah. We are with you, Sister Hadid. Please let us know if you need anything. We're always at your service. We appreciate all of our beloved Lebanese and Palestinian brothers and sisters. Go ahead, Sister Hadid.
Okay, Bismillah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reportedly said regarding this, that whoever desires that he invokes curse upon himself is lying. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also stated, surely truthfulness leads to righteousness, and surely righteousness leads to paradise, and surely a man keeps on telling the truth until he becomes a truthful person. Surely falsehood leads to evil doing, and surely evil doing leads to the fire, and surely a man may keep on telling lies until he is written to be a prolific liar. Shall I continue?
Yeah. Go ahead, sister. Continue.
Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu says, truthfulness alayhi salam says, okay, truthfulness is the strongest of the pillars of faith. He also stated that the truthfulness of a man is based upon the measures of his manhood, and that there is no manly nobility for a consistent liar. Likewise, Sheikh al-Kishani mentioned that the beginning point of truthfulness is the path of chivalry, and manhood lies in one's intentions, and that truthfulness is one's integrity of purpose being directed to Allah, the Most High, Thus, the Most High said in Surah Fussilat, verse 6, therefore stand true to him. When Musa alayhi salam reportedly asked about Futuwwah, Allah Azza wa Jal replied, Futuwwah is that you return your soul to me pure, just as I accept from myself being pure. Speaking of the importance of pure intentions, the Prophet ﷺ said, actions are but by their intentions, and everyone shall get what they intend. Whoever migrates from the sake of Allah and His Messenger, then his migration is for Allah and His Messenger, and whoever migrates for worldly gain or to marry a woman, then his migration is for the sake of what he migrated for.
Jazakallah khairan, Sister Adil, for your excellent reading. We really appreciate it. So, dear brothers and sisters, this is a very good part to reflect jointly. Again, I want to go back to the part of this page where the Prophet ﷺ said, surely truthfulness leads to righteousness, and surely righteousness leads to paradise. And surely a man keeps telling the truth until he becomes a truthful person. Surely falsehood leads to evil doing, and surely evil doing leads to the fire. And surely a man may keep on telling lies until he is written to be a prolific liar. So, dear brothers and sisters, this is a very, very, very important quote from our beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I want you guys to reflect with me about this sentence. Surely, right? Surely a man keeps telling the truth until he becomes a truthful person. All right? When I was reflecting upon that specific quote from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I was reflecting upon certain psychological theories, right, as a way to help perhaps our youths or males and females to change malpractices, malactions to more healthy practices pertaining their akhlaq and adab. All right. So I want us to reflect together, and I'm going to ask this question in the WhatsApp group later. Brother Shoaib and Sister Fatima, maybe some of our brothers and sisters are not part of the WhatsApp group for the study circle. If you guys could share the link in the Zoom chat, I would really appreciate it. Jazakallah khairan. So essentially, what I was reflecting upon with this quote, surely a man keeps telling the truth until he becomes a truthful person. It's that sometimes if something is not normal for us to do, if something is not normal or authentic, or a certain custom that we're customized to do, then we need to still do it until it becomes congruent to our character or to our behavior inclinations. And there is a couple of theories in both social psychology and also generally psychology that we can connect to this. All right. So one theory is self-perception theory. All right, that we can utilize based upon this quote from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So self-perception theory is that people develop their attitudes by observing their own behavior, right? So when you engage in an unfamiliar action, that could be a good unfamiliar action, by the way, you may start to perceive yourself in a new way, which leads to the behavior becoming normalized over time. So sometimes we could, even if it's not natural for us, it's not our natural inclination, we're not used to it, we didn't get that tarbiyah, etc., we can still engage in it, right? And with time, it will become normalized. There is another theory as well, connected to behavior psychology, which is called cognitive dissonance. So when someone performs an action that feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable, they may experience cognitive dissonance, right? That, wait, my actions is not congruent with my thoughts or with my beliefs, right? Or vice versa. So to resolve this discomfort, dear brothers and sisters, the person then might adjust their attitudes or perceptions, eventually normalizing the action to reduce internal conflict. All right. So normalizing the action by, in a sense, reducing internal conflict so that your action becomes connected to your thoughts, to your beliefs. And from an Islamic point of view, we always say intentions and actions should be connected to one another. So just from this quote from our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we can connect it to psychology, right? Both with self-perception theory and the theory of cognitive dissonance. So I want you guys to expand on this with me. How can we utilize this nasiyah from our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and utilizing different theories in psychology, and how we can use that for guiding ourselves first and foremost towards the path of truthfulness, but also generally when it comes to youths and others. I find it to be quite astonishing the psychological insights that we can gain from our teachings of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, go ahead, Sister Kira.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Could you, I'm sorry, I'm a bit confused about the cognitive dissonance. Could you kindly, I'm sorry, it's probably just me. Yeah, simplify that for me. Like, what does that really mean?
So cognitive dissonance is when you're doing an action that is not congruent with your thoughts or with your beliefs, right? So let's say I'm not used to being kind, right? I'm a person, I'm quite harsh, right? And then we try to bring in some form of intervention where you start to be kind towards others in the way that you communicate, right? In the beginning, this action is not congruent with your thoughts and with your beliefs. But then the theory of cognitive dissonance teaches us that with time, we always want to bring ourselves into a state of balance, right? We want our beliefs to be congruent with our action or vice versa. So through a new action, with time, you will subconsciously or even consciously change your beliefs so that your beliefs becomes congruent with that action. And in behavior psychology, even in exposure therapy, that is a theory that we try to utilize sometimes, which is that if we want to change your beliefs, then we try to induce an action or bring about an intervention that might not be congruent with your initial thoughts or feelings or intentions or beliefs, but with time, you will cognitively go away from dissonance and bring balance by readjusting your thoughts and beliefs so that it's congruent with your actions. So you can utilize this actually when you work with breaking phobias, for instance, through breaking cognitive dissonance. So I am exposed to a spider. I have spider phobia. Okay, so in the beginning, I'm going to feel chills. I'm going to feel, quite discomfort. But after a while, just to bring about balance and breaking the cognitive dissonance, then I might change my beliefs so that I don't dislike spiders anymore. Now, this is just a very short, summary of what cognitive dissonance is. When it comes to self-perception theory, it's more that people develop their attitudes through looking at their own behavior, right? So that it brings about some form of congruence, right? So if you're engaging in something unfamiliar action, because with Futuwwah, we're speaking about also refinement of character, right? Tahdib, right? Then you might start to perceive yourself in a new way after a while based upon that action. And that leads to the behavior becoming normalized within you, because then you will find congruence after a while between your beliefs and the behavior. But it's more a bottom-up approach. You go from the behavior to change the attitudes. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, Jazakallah khair. Yeah, it reminds me of an English saying that I think I read, that be mindful of your thoughts, because your thoughts become speech and your speech becomes actions. So I think, yeah, along the same lines, what you're saying. Okay, but yeah, and I get it. Yeah.
Could you share that the quote in the WhatsApp group later, sister? That's a great quote. We can utilize that, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah.
Jazakallah khairan, Sister Kira. Anybody who would like to reflect? Any thoughts, dear sisters and brothers? Also, we see here that Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu anhu, he says truthfulness of a man is based upon the measure, right, of his manhood. And I was thinking about this with measure, dear brothers and sisters, right? How do we measure manhood or womanhood? Sacred manhood or sacred womanhood? Could we create like an assessment model, It was something that I was reflecting upon reading this quote. Any thoughts about that? All right. That's fine. We can continue reading, inshallah. I'm sure more thoughts will come, inshallah. It's also another thing here that we can reflect upon with the communication and the conversation between Musa alayhi salam with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to Futuwwah, right? Futuwwah is that you return your soul to me pure, just as I accept from myself being pure, right? Speaking of the importance of pure intentions. This is related to that later, right? So what do we mean with pure? What is pure? So these are all things that we can reflect upon together. Anybody who would like to reflect upon this aspect of Futuwwah? All right, that's fine. I don't have access to the chat. Let me just see if somebody's writing something in the chat. Cognitive dissonance is being hypocritical. Yes, that's why you need to break cognitive dissonance, Sister Sophia, because it doesn't mean that you're hypocritical per se. It's just that your actions and thoughts are not aligned, and we want to bring them into alliance. Yes, you can utilize it in a hypocritical way, obviously, but if you have the right intention, then it could be quite a good intervention to do as a way to perhaps change your attitudes through changing your behaviors or vice versa. Sister Shireen is writing, or it might also be they develop a reputation as being trustworthy. That takes time to develop. Children is another example, how to disclose info to them that is age appropriate. Yes. How do we communicate with children in a way that is age appropriate? That's very important, Sister Shireen. Sister Amina wants to help to disseminate. Yeah, very good, Sister Amina. Please write to us in the WhatsApp group, and we will add you to the social media group. That will be amazing. Yes, Sister Mahlaqa, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask that this statement here, when Musa reportedly asked about Futuwwah, is this from there is an ayat in Quran that mentions this, that Musa alayhi salam asked Allah about Futuwwah? From where did, or this is a hadith, or I just wanted to know the authenticity also just to increase my knowledge about this. And also that when Allah replied that is that you return your soul to me pure. This is Futuwwah, right? That's what he means, that just as I accept from myself being pure, just as I accept from myself being pure, does it mean that Allah is pure and he wants us to return our souls to him as pure as we can? And maybe Futuwwah means all of those things that make us pure. Is that the meaning here?
Allahu alam, sister. We can take a lot of different meanings. Where this conversation comes from, you have a footnote here, sister, 76. We can go back and see exactly where the quote is taken from. But you have a footnote 76 here. So if you read the book, you just check the footnote here, and then you see where the quote is from, inshallah. With regards to pureness here, as I interpreted it, Allahu alam, I might be wrong, is fitra, the notion of fitra. Fitra is our pure state of being, in the state of Tawheed, in the state of divine connection, divine witnessing. So that is how I interpret it, that Futuwwah is a way for us to be connected to our fitra.
So in order to explain Futuwwah more better, I think we will need to get more knowledgeable about what exactly fitra is according to Islam or Allah Ta'ala, and we have to maybe explain it very well, or maybe it is already done, I'm not sure, but that is, or maybe in our circles here, we need to learn also more about exactly how the fitra and what are the components of fitra so that we can do our job well.
Yes, sister. That's part of why we have this study circle, is to try to bring our foundational knowledge to a level where we can be advocates and ambassadors of the notion of Futuwwah. And then that fitra is a very important concept that, of course, we should study. There's a very good book written by Sheikh Yasin Ahmed from South Africa. He's also part of ISIP's advisory board, so we're very close to him. He's one of the great scholars of Islamic psychology in our generation. He's written a book called Fitra. which explains our traditional scholars' different interpretation of the concept of fitra. So definitely, Sister Mahlaqa, this is something that is very important, and hopefully maybe we can even read that book together on a later stage, inshallah. But yes, in order for us to speak about Futuwwah, we need to also understand the concept of fitra. That's very crucial. Because Futuwwah is about being sacred man and sacred woman, noble character, chivalry, which is part of our fitra. It's part of our fitra to be sacred man and sacred woman, The toxicity that we say today, which is creating alternative gender identities and alternative gender, approaches or roles or alternative ways of being a man and woman. If it's not congruent with Quran and Sunnah, then it's not fitri, right? But there is also a lot of cultural narratives that are very much, disconnecting men and women towards fitra, right? We have notions of masculinity, which is quite toxic, isn't it? I always say that toxicity and masculinity is nothing connected. Masculinity is not toxic. Femininity is not toxic. It's the culture that influences through the culture. It comes influences that afflicts masculinity or femininity with toxicity. But masculinity and femininity in its pure form, in its fitri form, is not toxic. But these are things that we should reflect upon also as a way to engage in conversation with our counterparts and also to use Futuwwah to bring people back to a reconnection with fitra.
Yes.
Jazakallah khairan, Sister Mahlaba.
One thing, just brother,
Iran.
just wanted. I'm sorry. I just wanted to add one more thing to this, just to make awareness, like to everyone to be aware of this. That, as you mentioned, that about fitra and everything, I think it is more connected with the traumas, right? Traumas of the childhood, or people are not aware of, or that shapes us that shapes the fitra and maybe dysregulates the fitra or something. So we need to get to know about all of this psychology also behind why it's getting distorted, the fitra. Just wanted to add this. Thank you, brother.
Jazakallah khairan, Sister Mahlaba. I appreciate it. Thank you for your excellent remarks and questions. An honor to have you with us. Sister Kiram, please go ahead.
I just wanted to make two comments and make please correct me if I'm wrong. Just going back to the cognitive dissonance thing, and I think it's also, like you mentioned, it can be conscious or unconscious, and like somebody made a comment whether you're being hypocritical, but I think it's quite common in the diaspora community, especially because sometimes when you're trying to fit in and you take on like cultural habits, maybe consciously or unconsciously, but then obviously you see in the future generation that, for example, if you just talk about from a religious point of view, that people and generations can drift away from the origins of the religion because their predecessors have been trying to take on cultural habits, which, for example, if you talk about celebrating Christmas or something. So it's not always necessarily hypocritical, but the aftermath could be, could basically change, like you said, change your actions and obviously affect the future. The other thing, going back to the quote of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that surely truthfulness leads to righteousness and surely righteousness leads to paradise. And I was thinking about it, and I was listening to a scholar recently, and he spoke about how certain things we take for granted or think that, oh, it's just a small, it's okay to do this. And he gave the example of, for example, if, for a degree exam or something, I say, oh, it's okay, it's just I'll cheat for one question or something. But then actually you have cheated to get that degree, which kind of actually makes your whole livelihood haram, because and so I thought, I was quite shaken by that, because that's quite, people might not think twice about, oh, it's just one question, I'll cheat about it. But then, the aftermath of it and the consequences are quite serious, and like the whole hadith is, and you can end up in hell. So, I thought that was quite strong. So I just wanted to share that. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah khairan, Sister Kiran. Thank you so much. It's a very interesting insight from this Sheikh. May Allah preserve all of our teachers and shuyukh. Yeah, I mean, depending on how we reach our goal, the means that we're using it will, in a sense, affect the ends, whether people know it or not, because Allah is all-seeing, all-knowing, right? So definitely that's something we need to be mindful of, Jazakallah khairan. All right, let's continue reading. Thank you for excellent remarks, dear sisters. Somebody who would like to start to read from, let me just read the chat. Sister Anum is writing, return your soul to me pure could also from slave to Rabb. Yes, meaning ikhlas. Yes, sincerity in worship. Yes, exactly, Sister Anum. Yes, Sister Elena is saying that the 76 quote there, the source is from book, Manazil al-Sarin. Yes, exactly. Thank you, sister. All right, who would like to read? All right, Sister Kafila, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Please, can you indicate where, because I just joined the session. Okay.
It's here in a similar narration. Here,
okay. In a similar narration, the Prophet ﷺ also reportedly stated, the intention of the believer is better than his action, and the intention, the corrupt person, is worse than his action. The saints and the scholars and the scholars of the following generations expounded upon the importance of pure intention, as Imam Ali said, a righteous intention is one of the two actions. Furthermore, Imam Musa al-Khazim said, just as the body does not stand without a living soul, the religion does not stand without truthful intention. So did the Sheikh Ibrahim ibn Adam radiallahu anhu said, sincerity is truthfulness in intention with Allah, the Most High. Speaking at the centrality of intention, Sheikh Abdullah ibn Mubarak stated, many an action is big, but lessened by the intention, while many an action is small, but made great by its intention. Likewise, Sheikh Umar al-Sohrawadi said, intention is the deed of the heart. And Sheikh Muhammad al-Darqutni stated, there is nothing more beneficial for you, O poor one, than truthfulness with your Lord in what he has commanded you, and in what he has prohibited you. But by Allah, if you are like this with him, you shall see wonders in your life. Remember that Allah the Most High said in Surah Al-Muhammad, verse 21, if they had been truthful with Allah, surely it would have been better for them. By Allah, if we are truthful with him, he will be truthful with us, aiding us against our enemies. The second,
we'll take a pause there. Thank you for your reading. It was great, mashallah. So I would like us to reflect upon this part. I find it to be very interesting. Obviously, all the readings we're doing is very interesting. So for instance, Sheikh Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak stated, many an action is big, but lessened by its intention, while many an action is small, but made great by its intention. So my question to you guys, I would love us to reflect together, is why is Futuwwah not always about the seen, right? The zahir, right? Rather, equally, if not more important, the inner as well, the batin. So why is it not always about the seen, but also about the unseen? If you guys would like to reflect, please go ahead. Or you can just reflect about something else in this paragraph. So we'll bring you in, Sister Mahlaq. I just want more people to be able to raise their thoughts. So inshallah, anybody else? So we believe in each one teach one. We're learning from one another. This is the concept of our halaqah. So anybody else? Any thoughts? If not, Sister Mahlaqa, go ahead.
Can you please repeat the thing, what your question was? I just got something in my mind and it got out
You just
quickly.
share your mind. Share what came to your mind is what Allah wants you to share. Go ahead.
No, what was your question? Can you repeat it, please, once more?
No, it's what my question was generally. I'm just asking questions, but it could be that you guys just reflect upon other things in the paragraph. Essentially, what I was saying is why is Futuwwah not always about the scene, what we see, the
Yeah.
zahir,
Now I
and
remember.
why is it also important with our inner as well? So this was
Yeah. I feel like it is mostly about inner, because mostly the unseen, our iman, like in Islam, we are mostly the things, the concepts, the values, and all of on which the Islam is based is mostly the things are unseen, and we have to believe in unseen, like Allah is unseen, heaven, hell, and all the qualities, like we are talking about faith, iman, these everything is mostly the things are unseen. So we have to be a big believer upon unseen, the unseen world, unseen, the tools that Allah provides us, with which we become better Muslims, is mostly all these qualities, they are unseen. And our intentions, they are unseen. Nobody can know whose intention is what. So we really need to work on our unseen, all of the components that are unseen. We have to work and develop these kind of qualities in our that mostly people cannot see, but Allah can see. So if these all of things become aligned, and then that's what Futuwwah is all about. Mostly it's not about what your appearance is, because sometimes the appearance can be anything, but who knows what is from inside, how we are and what we are, and how Allah knows what we are. So I think we need to work on our internal, all the aspects that are internally nobody can see, but Allah knows. That's what I thought. That
Jazakallah khairan, sister. Appreciate your excellent remarks. Sister Kafila, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Actually, if we look at the life of a Muslim in terms of worship, the worship of Allah does not only consist of what is apparent, but what it also includes what is internal in terms of our qalb, what is in our hearts. Just like we are talking about reference, we're talking about perseverance, forbearance, and patience. All these actions are actions of the heart. And when we're talking about Futuwwah, Futuwwah actually encompasses everything. It's not enough for us to just profess something outwardly. We need to actually attach it to the intention that is behind the action, what drives the action. And that is what Allah actually looks at. The Prophet ﷺ had already said it, that Allah does not have anything to do with what we prefer outside, except what is behind that action in itself, which is what Allah cherishes most. And by the hadith, which the Prophet had already given us, that many people will come to Allah on the day of Qiyamah, preferring that they are done things, seeking knowledge, fought in jihad, in the battlefield because of Allah. And Allah will refute their actions based on the intention by which they had acted on, as in the intention behind the seeking of the knowledge, the intention behind the fighting in the cause of Allah in a war front, that they did it only for show off or for people to call them alim, for them to be lauded over what they had done, not really because of the pleasure of the seeking of the pleasure of Allah. And Allah does not want shuraka, as in to be made to share. So based on this, we could say that Futuwwah is not only about the action, as we said, but it also includes the intention behind it.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Beautiful said, sister. Appreciate all of your reflections and remarks. So congruence between intentions and actions as part of the notion of Futuwwah, and in this, one of the traits of Futuwwah, which is truthfulness. Perfectly said. Jazakallah khairan. Sister Asfiya, please go ahead.
Yes, brother. So it's a very small reflection. Just got this thought while listening to all of the others. saying about the intention and the actions. Sometimes intentions, they start with a purity. Your intention only Allah Subhanahu wa Taala knows, and there is a possibility that you have this intention with a very pure heart. But once it comes to an action, suppose a very small example, like you feel like giving a sadaqah, or you give out the zakat or something. Sometimes what happens, your intention is pure, but when you get that thing into action, maybe somewhere you get this kind of show off, or doing it. Definitely you intend to do it for the sake of Allah, but sometimes it happens so that after giving the zakat, or after giving the sadaqah, you get a feeling of pride, or you feel like I have done this, and people recognize it, or you do it in a way that people see it, but your intention was pure. But when it comes to actions, I feel sometimes it leads us astray, or it makes us to feel that people have to recognize it somewhere subconsciously. Maybe I'm not saying that consciously you do this, but subconsciously somewhere we have this hunger of getting praise from people. So action and intention, I feel sometimes it doesn't go hand in hand. This is what my reflection was.
MashaAllah, Sister Asfiya, thank you so much for excellent remarks and reflections. Yes, and that comes to another point, because what about if people see that you're giving sadaqah, and that inspires others to give sadaqah as well? Then it could be modeling, isn't it? Right? So maybe your intention is not to be seen because you want to boast your ego or nafs. Rather, maybe this is a way of modeling so that others also, engage in same actions. So it's about the context, and it's about the intention, right? It's always about the intention and context. That's why in the part of becoming a feta, or to engage in futuwwah, and to be a sacred man and a sacred woman, we need to always reflect upon our intention and do our tazkiyah, our purification. Am I giving sadaqah publicly because I want to be seen as this, altruistic person, and everybody will love me? Or am I doing it because in this way maybe others will give sadaqah as well, and I'm doing it for the sake of model? So the same action has two different intentions. And sometimes we subconsciously might think we have an intention, but it changes, because shaitan is always there with his waswas and whispers, isn't it? So that's why we always, when we try to engage in futuwwah, we need to be always in a state of being a zaki or a zakia. Zaki is a person who is always engaged in tazkiyah. A zakia, it's a female version of it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to embody futuwwah, inshaAllah. Jazakallah khairan to all of your excellent remarks. Let's continue reading. Anybody who would like to read? Do we have any volunteers, dear brothers and sisters? All right. So let's take Sister Kafila, because you already read. Let's bring in Sister Edina, inshallah. Go ahead.
Okay, do I start with the second level?
Yes, exactly, sister. Go ahead.
The second level of truthfulness, as mentioned by Al-Qasani, lies in speech. Imam Yahya ibn Hamzah al-Damari stated that truthfulness in speech is that which relates to information connected to the past or the present. Moreover, Imam Ali said, truthfulness is the trust of the tongue and the adornment of faith, and that truthfulness is the closing of certitude. Imam Zaid ibn Ali stated, the right of the tongue is keeping it clean from deceptive speech, falsehood, and profanity, and that you use it to establish truth for the sake of Allah without fearing vile criticism. Likewise, Sayyid Abdul Qadir al-Jilani said, truthfulness in speech is the placement of mindful speech in its appointed time. A famous story relating to the demonstrated truthfulness of Sayyid al-Jilani's words illustrates this virtue. When he left his home as a teenager to study in Baghdad, his mother had him pledge a vow that he would never tell a lie. He then departed with 40 gold coins in his possession. During his travels, he was ambushed by a group of bandits. One bandit said to him, "O poor one, what do you have with you?" Said Al-Jilani replied, 40 gold coins. The bandit asked, "Where is it?" He told the bandit that it was sewn into his jacket pocket, upon which the bandit thought that he was joking. Another bandit came to him and asked the same question, to which he gave the same reply. After searching his clothes, this bandit found the 40 gold coins. He asked Said Al-Jilani why he informed him of his gold coins, to which he responded, "Surely my mother had me promise that I would always tell the truth, and I cannot break my promise to her." The bandit began to weep. Then he said, "You did not break your promise to your mother, but surely I, on this day and in this year, broke my promise to my Lord." Thereupon, the bandits repented for their crimes after witnessing the truthfulness of Sayyid Al-Jilani.
Jazakallah khairan, sister. Jazakallah khairan. Great. Thank you so much for reading in such an excellent way, sister. So, mashallah, so much gold here. So much gold here. So much great insights to take from these stories of our beloved shuyukh and teachers of our tradition. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve their legacy and allow us to embody their legacy, inshallah. So essentially here, there is a lot of things that we can reflect upon. First and foremost, according to this reading, and according to the way that Imam Dawud interprets the whole notion of truthfulness, there are different levels of truthfulness, right? So the first level is sidq, truthfulness. The second is speech, right? And the third is truthfulness in actions, keeping one's trust. All right, so it's good for us to have this when we start to communicate and discuss the material in the WhatsApp group. By the way, dear brothers and sisters, I didn't see if the WhatsApp group was shared. Let me just share the WhatsApp group. So if you're not part of the WhatsApp group for the study circles, please join it. I just shared the link in the Zoom chat, all right? Because after the session today, we will open up the chat for WhatsApp group for 24 hours for us to have text reflections jointly and learn from each other's interpretation of the text material. Nevertheless, the levels of truthfulness, according to our reading, is the first level is truthfulness, sidq. The second is speech. And the third is truthfulness in action, congruence, isn't it, right? Keeping one's trust. So have that in mind. With regards to the whole story of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, it's really so interesting here. And I want us to reflect upon this story together. So he's keeping his promise to his mother, right? Just reflect upon that. When we work with, young boys, for instance, how can we tell them, how can we show them how important it is that you keep your promise towards your mother or your father, by that matter, right? So he's so honest that he speaks that he has gold coins in his pocket, isn't it? To these bandits, right? And where does he have that sincerity and that truthfulness? Is in his taqwallah, right? And also in the beautiful tarbiyah that he received from his parents, isn't it, right? And then what happens? He keeps his promise. He speaks about it. He tells the bandits. And what happens with him being so honest? The bandits change, right? They become aware of their shortcomings. They repent and they do tawbah and they go back to the righteous way. So beautiful, this interaction. And this brings us to something that one of our teachers in Futuwwah, who's also part of the Futuwwah Academy advisory board, Dr. Rajab Shentur, he says in one of his articles that he wrote about Futuwwah, he says that when it comes to employing Futuwwah in curriculum development or in working with youths, we need to have narrative storytelling. Using narratives and storytelling as a way for youths to embrace and to adorn the characters with traits of Futuwwah, so that they can relate to different role models. So Abdul Qadir Jilani is an amazing role model. The Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet, is amazing role models. Like all the prophets and all the Anbiya are amazing role models, or all the Awliya are amazing role models, isn't it? So how can we bring these stories into action and into modeling for our youths? This is something I'm, throwing out to you guys to reflect upon in the WhatsApp group chat after the session today. It made me also think about somebody else. I guess all of you who have children, or all of you who work with children, or all of you who are interested in mixed martial arts, know who this person is. It's Habib Nur Muhammadov. Habib Nur Muhammadov. the great Dagestani mixed martial arts practitioner, right? What happened when he won the world championship? What did he do? The last time he won the world championship, what did he do? Do you guys remember? Yes, Khabir Nur Muhammadov or Nur Magudunov. But that's a Dagestani Dagestani way of saying Nur Muhammadov. Nevertheless, what did he do?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, he made a promise to never compete again.
Yes.
And he said he wouldn't compete, and he kept that promise, and now he's doing other work, subhanAllah.
SubhanAllah. Who is speaking, by the way?
Sorry, it's Zahira.
Sister Zahira, you're 100% correct. What he did, and this is astonishing, this is something you can speak with the youths about, specifically with the boys and the males. He took away his gloves and throw them in the ring after the match, right? That's a symbol that you're leaving, you're quitting as a boxer or as a mixed martial art practitioner. And then he says, I don't want to break my promise towards my mother. I promised her I'm not going to fight again. And he started to cry. Actually, he did cry before he spoke about the promise. Why did he cry? Do you guys remember? Yes, Sister Elena. He fought because his father told him to, but then he also cried because his father died. Exactly, Sister Elena. Exactly. His father died a couple of months prior, and it was during the COVID, during the pandemic. And he was very close to his father. His father was a great mentor of his and many other fighters in Dagestan. So essentially, what Habib represents is the tradition that comes from Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani and other scholars in our tradition, which is to embody truthfulness and always keep your promises, right? And this is the attribute of the Caucasian braves. I'm writing an article that will be released soon about Futuwwah, where I'm using Futuwwah as a way. This will be part of the Futuwwah Academy's curriculum, by the way, where we try to use Futuwwah to break gang violence among Muslim boys, because a lot of the Muslim boys in the West are unfortunately engaged in gang activities. And I was researching the masculine role models according to our tradition in the Caucasian area of the Ummah, Dagestan, Chechnya, Bashkortostan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, all these places. And there is this notion of Caucasian brave, which was embodiment of the prophetic masculine attributes and also the Futuwwah attributes in such an interesting way. These Caucasian braves were educated to be strong men, but also trustworthy, truthful, and having Futuwwah as an integral part of their character traits. And there's a lot of stories about how the Caucasian braves were able to even fight just fights by being trustworthy and truthful. And a lot of their enemies, when they were fighting, became Muslims through their dawah. And this is also stories of one of the great scholars of our tradition, which is Imam Shamil, who is from Caucasia, who fought the Tsar, the king of Russia, before the Russians became communist through the Bolshevik Revolution. They used to be monarchists. So the Tsar was the king. So it's a lot of interesting stories on how Imam Shamil, even when he was fighting the Tsar, had such a beautiful character. A lot of his opponents became Muslims. And it's kind of like the same attribute you see in Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, right? When he opened up Jerusalem again for all Muslims and Christians and Jews, by the way, he didn't kill his adversaries. He forgave them, right? Exactly the way that the Prophet did, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Allah gave him fath, when he opened up Mecca again for the believers. He didn't kill all of his adversaries. Many of them became Muslims, by the way, right? So in a sense here, what we can learn from the story of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani is that even in adversity, you keep your promise, right? Promise towards your mom and promise towards Allah, right? You're not breaking your oath, right? And what happens, it changed the heart of the bandit, the opponent. So it helps us to actually, when we are doing, even in facing adversary, harsh adversary, always keep the akhlaq there, the akhlaq of the Futuwwah. And who knows, it might change the heart of your opponents. Yes, Sister Hadid, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that also like wars and what's happening nowadays, it's also very like egoistic. Like for example, I remember I think it was Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, he was like fighting, and one of the like the fighters, he was about, and Sayyidina Ali, he was about to kill him, but then he thought, and I think he hit him on the face, and then Sayyidina Ali, he wanted to kill him, but then he was like reflecting, was he doing it for himself or for God? He was like, he thought that it was for his ego, so he didn't do it because it wasn't for God. And I think this is what's happening nowadays. Like everything is happening for egoistic reasons, for materialistic reasons, and like it's not for the sake of building an ummah, I guess.
That's beautiful, said Sister Hadid. So beautiful. And this whole story of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu is so remarkable. And this is a story we need to tell to people, as you say, because this is actually tazkiyat al-nafs, what Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu did in that context of fighting this warrior. And that warrior became a Muslim. That's quite interesting. So yeah, thank you, Sister Hadid, for the reminder. Yes, Sister Asfia, go ahead.
Yes, brother. So what I understood by the story of Sayyid al-Jilani here was, generally, if we are in this situation, any person in this situation where one is getting robbed or something, so what would we do? We would actually tell the people about the money or anything which we have, valuables, only because of the fear of our life. We would fear that, okay, all right, we'll give it away. But here the purely it was for the sake of his mother and for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he had to be truthful. So here the intention is important. He did not give it away or tell the truth because of the fear of people over there. It was only for the it was for the sake of Allah and the promise he made to his mother. And I think that is what made the bandit to know about his crime, and be truthful, or whatever changes he got afterwards. He chose the right path afterwards, what he witnessed. So I think it's all about the intention the Sayyid al-Jilani had here. It was not with the fear of people what he did, but with the fear of Allah and the promise he kept.
Wow. That's amazing, Sister Asfia. Thank you for bringing that dimension to the reflection. I appreciate it. It's so true. I didn't even think about it myself. SubhanAllah, amazing. Because you're right. And I understand when we do it. Like I remember my parents always told me when I was a young kid that if somebody comes, then just give everything you have, just as a way to safeguard your life, which is an amana, by the way. Our life is an amana that we have gained from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's nothing wrong what we're taught. But as you rightfully pointed out here, Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, his intention is purely, he doesn't think, at least the way that we interpret it, he doesn't think about his own life, right? He's thinking about, as you said, keeping his promise towards his mother and ultimately towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And if we put that intention into our action, maybe the outcome will be different, right? So the first outcome, if we just give all the things we have to the bandit based upon securing our life, yes, alhamdulillah, hopefully Allah will safeguard our life, right? But if we add that other intention to it as well, which is the intention that we can be, be inspired by the action here from Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, then maybe we can even change the heart of the oppressor here. Allahu A'lam. Interesting reflections. All right, we'll take from Sister Zubaydah, then we will read some more, and inshallah we will bring in also Sister Kafila and Sister Mahlaqa, inshallah. Yes, Sister Zubaydah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I think you actually touched on what I want to reflect on. It's that, like, sometimes we don't speak our truths. And yeah, I mean, this example, and it's the second time I've heard this story in like a very short time, where the truths could have changed, the impact going forward on somebody else's life. So sometimes we don't live our truths, or we are disconnected with the truth. And I think Allah in His mercy shows us truths, you know, and by ignoring it or living past it, we actually are closing our doors to certain openings to His mercy, you know. So I think for me, and when I read the comment earlier about Futuwwah being linked to your purity, right? I thought of the ayah where Allah says that, you know, there'll be a day when nothing will avail us except a pure heart, you know. And so for me, I think that very much came to mind is that actually the center of it all is that Allah is key. So beneficial knowledge then will assist us in knowing what is true. And then that will allow us then to live certain truths when we face them, and then be able to positively impact the hearts of those around us. Because without that, then we won't be able to do that in any way or form. That's just my reflection.
MashaAllah, Sister Zubaydah. Thank you for your excellent reflections. MashaAllah. All right, Sister Mahlaqa, very briefly, if you want to share, and also Sister Kafila, briefly from both of you, inshallah. Sister Mahlaqa, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, brother, I was just wondering one thing because one thing I want to reflect a little bit shortly that because Abdul Qadir Jilani had an opportunity that he couldn't have mentioned this, and maybe his money would have been saved because it was not in his pocket or something obvious. It was very much like stitched inside the seam, so it was he could have easily not mentioned about it and could have easily saved his money. But yeah, that's so true that's why it is so obvious that he did it, because he wanted to keep the promise of his mother and he wanted to be truthful. So one this was reflection, and the other thing is because I just want to ask a question. There's a question because someone asked me this question from the youth. When you remember we did a podcast series in Ramadan about various concepts, and my podcast was on truthfulness, and I did this mention this story about truthfulness, and I spoke about it in that podcast. This Ramadan we did it. So one of the youths who listened to this podcast, they asked me actually that is it bad if you is it not good if we don't because if we want to protect our lives or our money because of some financial reasons and we don't say the truth in that moment, so is it okay to tell a lie at that situation? Is it preferable if it is preferable and a very big action and a generous action if we tell the truth? But if we don't tell the truth and if we hide it in order to protect ourselves, or is it okay? This was the question, and I was really I was not prepared for it, and I didn't know what to answer. So I just want to know if you
This
can.
question is something we need to ask the shuyukh with regards to fiqh. There is fiqh on this, actually, that what do you do when you're threatened, your life is threatened? I prefer to not answer it, even though I think I have the answer, because I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to give you a fiqh answer, even though I think I know the answer. This is also, by the way, Sister Mahlaqa, with your permission, just 1 second. So a part of Futuwwah is to not give answer when you're not 100% sure. So essentially, from that point of view, I'll ask some of my teachers and get back to you. But I know there are concepts in our tradition where there are sometimes, if it's matter of your life, that you could actually not say certain things. This is something that I know, that I studied and came across. But I also know that there is differences of opinion with regards to this as well. So I will get back to you on that question.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mahlaqa. What was it? You wanted to say something else?
Oh no, that's it. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thank you so much, Sister Mahlaqa, for your excellent remarks. Sister Kafila, you wanted to say something, or you just okay. Sister Kiran, yes, go ahead.
Brother, I just wanted to answer the sister's question. So, you know, when in India especially, there were a lot of Muslim-Hindu feuds going on, and they were being forced to say, oh, you worship a god. And I think there's a fatwa by a Indian Muslim scholar to say that it's not the ideal, but if you know, if your life is under threat, you can pretend and say that, yes, you know, like, because they were basically being told to say, oh, you worship, and you know, and the name of their gods, the Hindu gods, to save your life, you can say that. I think they said the scholars agreed that you are allowed to lie if you know in those times, but they had given that the scholar had given the full, like, obviously the reasons and the fiqh for it. I haven't got the reference for it, but in brief, I think the outcome was that you're allowed to do it if it's a matter of life and death.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you for sharing, sister. The thing is that there is dalil for that, and yes, I appreciate you sharing it. I know the situation for Muslims in India is very severe, so I think definitely the shuyukh that you're referring to, or the people that are doing the ifta, they are knowledgeable. There is a notion, and this is also, you know, I am, we're, here from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, so I know that in the Shia tradition, they have something called taqiyya, where you just don't say your background and your beliefs. I don't know if we have this in the Sunni tradition, to be quite honest, in that way. Allahu alam. I will ask my teachers and get back, inshallah. But yeah, thank you for sharing about that. Yes, Brother Shoaib.
I want to reflect upon this sister's remark earlier that in case of India, the rift between Hindus and Muslims, and they ask you to say in their God's name, like several slogans like Jai Shri Ram and other. So I will say in the matter of death and life, you can say but you don't have any kind of revolt against Allah inside you. And there are several ayats regarding it in the Quran and Majid. So we can, it's only in the matter of death and life. So
yeah.
I think so.
Yes, I also heard that. Inshallah, we will go to the to the shuyukh and get their thought about this. But it's a very important question. Thank you, Brother Shoaib, for your excellent remark. Thank you so much, Sister Kiran. Thank you, Sister Mahlaga, for your excellent question. But if we go back to this part of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, now obviously the situation in India for the Muslims are very difficult. May Allah make it easier for all of our beloved Muslim brothers and sisters in India. I know many of you are from India, Brother Shoaib. I think also Sister Kiran, maybe you're from India, or Sister Asfiya, others. May Allah make it easy for all of you. We're with the Muslims in India. India is such an important country for the Ummah. So in the Indian context, obviously, it's really, really, really difficult in certain circumstances to be a Muslim. I even heard from some of the scholars in our tradition that for sisters who wear niqab, some of the shuyukh have said, if you go to the West, you don't need to wear the niqab because here you can be assaulted. So, they're not even recommending you to wear the niqab. Obviously, my position as your brother here is that certain thing that has to do with certain areas where I at least do not feel qualified, then I refer to the scholars. And this is Futuwwah, by the way. Futuwwah is always to go back to the chain of knowledge, right? So for instance, who's Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani? We can read here in this chapter that he lived between 470 AH after Hijrah and 561 after Hijrah. He was a Hanbali polymath that authored texts of the exegesis of the Quran, Islamic jurisprudence, spiritual purification, and Futuwwah. He was a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through Imam al-Hassan ibn Ali in his paternal lineage and Imam al-Hussein ibn Ali in his maternal lineage. He's one of the most revered spiritual doctors in Islamic circles, after whom the Qadiri spiritual order was named. He is entombed in Baghdad at the famous mosque named after him. So we know that Abdul Qadir Jilani is a source of knowledge. So we can learn from him because he has a silsila, right? He has a source, a chain of the knowledge that he derived to that goes directly to the Prophet, peace be upon him. And many of our scholars in our tradition are taught in this chain of transmission, right? So it's important to bring that about. All right, brothers and sisters, we have, 9 minutes left. So let's read the last parts here. Anybody who would like to read?
I
All
can
right.
read if no one is available because I
I
really
can
love.
read. I will read, inshallah. No problem. So this well-known event of Sayyid al-Jilani is a testament to the high degree of truthfulness that a fata can exhibit. He was foremost truthful in front of Allah Azza wa Jal in his oath to be truthful at all times, even in adversity. His truthfulness extended to not breaking the promise that he made to his mother, although she was not physically present. He also was truthful with those who were wronging him, embodying the lesson that a fata should not be dishonest with people even when they violate his own rights. This embodiment of truthfulness was a means by which Sayyid al-Jilani was protected from harm and by which those who were in misguidance were guided aright. This is a magnificent lesson for today's young males, showing how true empowerment comes from a sincere devotion to the truth. Al-Qashani mentioned that the third level of truthfulness relates to the truthfulness and actions. Truthfulness and actions also relates to keeping one's trust. Allah Azza wa Jal said in Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 23, "From among the believers are men who are true to what they pledge to Allah." Along a similar vein, Allah Azza wa Jal stated in Surah Yunus, verse 2, "And give good news to the believers that they will have the status of truthfulness with their Lord." Commenting on this, Al-Qashani said, "Whoever is not truthful, there is no portion for him in Futuwwah. Of course not, as his demeanor is unbecoming of manhood." Some of the disbelievers among the Quraysh trusted the Prophet ﷺ with their property. Upon his migration from Mecca to Medina, he left Imam Ali behind in Mecca to return their property and goods to them. Likewise, when the Prophet ﷺ instructed his most vulnerable companions to migrate from Mecca to Abyssinia, he told them, "Go to the land of Abyssinia, for surely it has a king who does not wrong anyone. It is the land of truth. Stay there until Allah makes for you relief in what you are in." The Prophet ﷺ referred to Abyssinia as the land of truth in relation to the righteous and Najashi, Ashamah ibn Abjar, radiallahu anhu, whose actions were sincere and conformed to truth and justice. His sincerity in intentions, word, and actions were further confirmed when he heard the message of the Quran, after which he converted from Christianity to Islam. His son, nephew, and other righteous Abyssinian Jews and Christians followed him to Islam, through which the practice of Islam were established in Abyssinia before reaching Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, "There are 4 characteristics that whoever has them will prosper: truthfulness, modesty, good character, and gratitude." Accordingly, Sayyid al-Jilani stated that it is said that truthfulness is loyalty to Allah by one's actions. And Sheikh Abu Najib al-Suhrawardi reportedly said, "The station of truthfulness is loyalty for the sake of Allah, displayed through actions." All right, dear brothers and sisters, we still have a couple of minutes left. I'm just going to read a little bit in the chat just to see what you guys are writing here. So let me see here. Sister Elena is writing something interesting here. Sayyidina Omar al-Khattab would disguise himself to see the life of his people in rural areas, and came up a house and overheard a conversation between a daughter and her mother about selling pure cow's milk or by adding some water to get more profit. The mother said, "It's okay, we add water because Amirul Mu'mineen is not here." The daughter replied, "True, he's not here, but the Lord of Amirul Mu'mineen is aware of what we're doing." So the daughter is married to one of Omar al-Khattab's sons. MashaAllah. That's a beautiful story, Sister Elena. Thank you for sharing. All right. I think, yeah. Sister Sophia is writing ayat from the Quran in chapter 2, verse 42. "And do not mix the truth with falsehood or conceal the truth while you know." And Brother Shoaib is referring to Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayat 3, and Surah Al-An'am, ayat 119. All right, brothers and sisters, this last part that we read is quite interesting here. For instance, according to the story of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani and the way that Imam Dawud Walid is interpreting it, right? The characteristics of truthfulness has 3 levels, right? 3 levels. 1, truthful in front of Allah. So he's truthful in front of Allah, right? 2, truthful in his oath towards his mother, to be truthful at all times, even when it's difficult, right? even when you're facing adversity. And the third level, truthful towards those that was wrongdoing him. So a feta, a person who embodies Futuwwah, a sacred man, should not be dishonest with people, even they are violating his own rights. And it's a little bit in connection to our conversation. And then Al-Qashani says, whoever is not truthful, there is no portion for him in Futuwwah, right? Of course, not at as his demeanor is becoming a manhood. So to embody Futuwwah as a sacred man and as a sacred woman, we need to be truthful, right? And then there is some reflections here as well, right? With regards to sincerity and intentions, words and actions, right? So that we need to have congruence in our action. And that truthfulness is a loyalty towards Allah through your action. This is what Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani and also Al-Suhrawardi is saying, right? That truthfulness is a loyalty towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through one's action, right? So these are a lot of great gems that we can be learning from this beautiful chapter. Any final remarks from you, dear brothers and sisters, with regards to this part and portion that we read?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Yes, go ahead.
I think one thing to mention or just acknowledge is that it's sometimes hard to not change your position when people have violated your rights or wronged you. And I remember someone telling me one time, you know, if somebody hurt you or somebody did something, it's not an excuse for you to kind of change your the way you are. Like that doesn't mean also that we become like doormats or we let people walk over us and hurt us. No, there's obviously a boundary that we all have to put. But the point is that it's very hard sometimes to do that, to be able to not change your position on certain things. But that is part of Futuwwah, to not change and to just still embody those beautiful characteristics that we should have. That's a couple of my my thoughts.
MashaAllah, Sister Zahira. Thank you so much. Excellent remarks. Yes, I agree. Just for next week, brothers and sisters, we will read from page 47 to 55. All right. So from page 47 to 55. We'll inform about everything in the WhatsApp group. So about 10 minutes from we end the session today, we will open up the WhatsApp group. I would really appreciate that you guys continue the conversations in the WhatsApp group. We have so much to learn from each other. You guys are, all of you, sources of knowledge. And I learned so much by listening to all of your reflections. May Allah bless all of you, dear brothers and sisters. Any final remarks? By the way, Sister Amina, you showed interest to join the social media team. If you could just, here's my, I don't know, like, are you part of the WhatsApp group, Sister Amina? I don't know. Are you part of the WhatsApp group? So let me just add my number here, just so we can add you. So please write, all of you who want to be part of the social media team of the Futuwwah Academy or the curriculum development team, you can either write a message to me, a PM on WhatsApp, or you just write it in the WhatsApp group. Let me also add our email just in case, or you can email us. We also add our email. All right. Any final thoughts and reflections? Thoughts and reflections? Any final thoughts and reflections, dear sisters and brothers? My beloved brother Mansoor. How you doing, Mansoor? I miss you. How you doing? Habibna, mashallah. My beloved Mansoor is a dear brother of mine from Gambia, mashallah. We're going to establish Futuwwah Academy in Gambia. Inshallah, inshallah. Yes, Sister Sophia, we would love to have you with us in the curriculum development, inshallah. Yes, Sister Sophia, we would love to have you with us in the curriculum. Any final remarks? But by the way, brother Mansoor is an embodiment of Futuwwah. My beloved brother is an embodiment of Futuwwah. Brother Usman, you're opening up your microphone. Would you like to say something? Brother Usman, you're opening up your microphone. We don't hear you, brother. Your sound is very bad. Your voice is very distorted. I think it's something wrong with your connection or your microphone. I think there's something wrong with the connection or your microphone. We don't hear you, brother. I'll lower hand. All right. Thank you so much, Sister Kafila. All right, then. Seems like everybody is satisfied for today. Thank you so much, your brothers and sisters, for your excellent remarks and text reflection. I really appreciate it. Every time I listen to you guys, I learn so much from all of you. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really accept our joint reading together as a collective and allow us to follow the path of Futuwwah, inshallah, and embody the traits of Futuwwah. So next week we will read page 47 to 55. All right. We will open up the WhatsApp group for discussions within 10 to 15 minutes. I also want to thank my beloved brother Shoaib and my beloved sister Fatima, who are project coordinators of the Futuwwah Academy Study Circle, for the amazing work both are doing. Thank you so much to your sister Fatima, Brother Shoaib, for giving your khidmah. Brother Shoaib has collected a lot of ayat from the Quran that we will disseminate on our social media, which relates to Futuwwah, and I really appreciate your amazing work, Brother Shoaib, and also thank you, Sister Fatima, for excellent work. I also want to thank Sister Dania, the International Secretary of ISIP and Futuwwah Academy, for excellent work, and also Sister Medea for doing all of our infographics and posters and pamphlets. Thank you all, dear brothers and sisters, for joining us today. I learned so much from all of you. Please forgive me for any shortcomings if I said anything wrong or coordinated in anything in a wrong way. Rest assured that all the mistakes are mine, and if anything good came from me, it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you so much for your trust, and I hope that we will all together continue this journey of learning the foundations of Futuwwah. So thank you, Sister Fatima, Brother Shoaib, Qasa, Sister Afsal, Sister Amina, Anum, Asfia, Sister Asma, Citadel, Sister Alina, Sister Farzana, Brother Jamal, Sister Jada, Sister Kafila, Sister Kiran, Sister Mahlaqa, Brother Mansour, Sister Misbah, Brother Muhammad, Sister Nafisa, Sister Niqad, Oppo, Qawla, Sister Ruqayya, Sister Sadia, Samsung, which I think is Sister Iman, Sister Sophia, SRS, Janeta, Zahira, and Sister Zubayda. Thank you for your excellent work and for joining us. We'll see each other next week, inshallah. And we will reconnect now in the WhatsApp group. Without any further ado, we will end the session now. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa